Welcome back, Focus Learners. Today, we're taking a really fascinating journey into the absolute bedrock of a brand's visual identity. In this explainer, our goal is highly specific, but trust me, it is incredibly revealing. We are going to deconstruct a single, complex 3D logo. Basically, we're doing a full visual autopsy on the logo for a company called Legit Creations. By breaking down the individual nuts and bolts of this design, we're going to uncover the foundational logic and the meticulously crafted public identity of the company itself. It's just a brilliant look at how visual elements can communicate trust, energy, and focus to the public without having to say a single word. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll introduce Legit Creations and take a macro view. Second, we'll examine the dynamic core sphere. Third, we're looking at partnership and loyalty. Fourth, we'll analyze the typography and the red ring. And finally, we'll tie it all together into the final public perception. All right, part 1, introducing Legit Creations and setting the stage. Before we even pull the design up on screen, I want you to really think about this for a second. What actually makes a visual identity truly legit? Is it the color palette? Is it the shape? Or is it how all of those subtle elements work together to subconsciously tell the public exactly who the company is? A brand's visual identity is essentially its silent ambassador, right? It has to instantly project competence and intention. So keep that in the back of your mind as we reveal the design. And here it is, the complete 3D identity of Legit Creations, or LGC. Right off the bat, you can see that baseline public impression being established through this incredibly bold 3D aesthetic. Notice those rich metallic copper textures? They give the logo this heavy, super premium feel. It's not flat at all. It casts these deep, highly realistic shadows right against that stark, beautifully textured white background. I mean, this isn't just a drawing. It literally feels like a physical forged object sitting right there in reality. It absolutely commands the space it occupies. Let's move to part 2, the dynamic core sphere and how it anchors the brand. So in design, there's this core concept known as visual weight or centrality. Basically, it's about how a massive central element anchors a brand's entire visual identity. In this specific logo, that massive metallic sphere right in the center acts as the inescapable gravitational core for the company's whole message. Literally everything else in the design either revolves around, sits on top of, or orbits this single substantial copper globe. It projects just an immense amount of stability and presence. But let's look at how this builds into something even more complex. If we zoom in on that sphere, it is definitely not just some smooth, passive globe. There are striking contrasts at play here. Set right into that smooth, glowing metallic copper surface, you've got these sharp white and black zigzag, almost star-like cutouts. And what that does is create incredible visual tension and dynamic 3D depth. The inner black layer sort of recedes into the background, while those white zigzags push aggressively forward, wrapping around the curve of the sphere. It's telling the public that Legit Creations isn't just stable, it's got this internal engine of dynamic energy and layered complexity. All right, part 3, partnership and loyalty, specifically looking at the characters. Now, what's really interesting about this is what happens when you deliberately let your eyes wander to the edges of the sphere. Take a look at the very top. We see 2 distinct human busts, a male and a female figure, cast in that exact same copper tone, resting seamlessly right on the crest of the globe. Then, look down at the sides. Nestled right into those star cutouts, we see 2 small, intricately detailed dogs. These absolutely aren't just accidental decorations. They are core pillars of the company's logic. Let's balance these elements conceptually for a second. On the top, the human figures represent partnership, collaboration, and forward vision. They're up at the summit, looking out, leading the brand's creative direction. Down on the sides, we have the dog figures. Now, dogs universally symbolize loyalty, trust, and a grounding presence. I mean, who doesn't implicitly trust a dog, right? By embedding these characters into the structure itself, Legit Creations is explicitly telling the public, our human partnership leads the grand vision, while our foundational values are built entirely on absolute loyalty and trust with our clients. Moving down to part 4, typography and the red ring, drawing the focus. As we shift our eyes to the 3D text spelling out Legit Creations, I actually want to pose a bit of a micro mystery to you. Take a close look at that typography. Everything is in that same beautiful, cohesive metallic copper, except for one specific thing. Why isolate the letter O in the word creations? There's this sudden, jarring shift in color and shape right at the bottom right. And this brilliantly illustrates an absolute masterstroke in visual hierarchy. By replacing that O with a thick, glossy, bright red 3D ring, the designer completely breaks the monochromatic copper and brown color palette. This red ring acts exactly like a visual bullseye. Human eyes are just naturally drawn to high contrast, and especially the color red. This deliberate disruption basically commands public attention, forcefully pulling your eye directly down to the name of the company, practically ensuring you read and remember legit creations. And finally, part 5, the final public perception and synthesis. So the crucial point here is how all these specific, separate elements mathematically add up to one cohesive public identity. That central sphere projects dynamic energy and weight. The human and canine figures instantly communicate a deep culture of partnership, collaboration, and unwavering loyalty. And that bright red ring, that demonstrates unapologetic focus and a refusal to just blend in with the background. When you synthesize all that brand logic, this exact combination logically projects a company that is robust, trustworthy, and highly creative. The total perception matches the name perfectly. It genuinely feels like a truly legit brand.
As we leave you with this lingering, full view of the Legit Creations logo, I really want you to carry this lesson forward. We've just seen how simple things like copper textures, a red ring, and some cleverly placed characters can build an entire corporate ethos from the ground up. So, how does design subconsciously shape our trust in a company? The very next time you see a brand's logo out in the wild, ask yourself, what is it quietly telling you to believe? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep those eyes open.